globe. The sounds you just heard were actual sounds from production at the Bethlehem steel plant.
We are very excited here to present our design as a case study in revitalization.
The Hoover-Mason Trestle is the project we're going to present today. My name is Edgar McKnight.
And I'm Keiko Tsuruta Cramer.
And we invite you to imagine growing up in a place where your entire world and life revolved around one single industry.
The place where a sense of community grew along with the grew in the workforce.
A community of workers, generations of workers and their families that lived, worked, attended church, school, and even socialized in the shadows of the steel plant.
It was a diverse community, but the community take care of and look after each other like family.
Because it was a hot, loud, and dangerous job.
Where the passionate worker often worked in an extreme condition.
And at its peak of production during World War II, the plant was actually producing one naval ship a day. But then we invite you to imagine it all stops.
The Bethlehem steel plant was closed in 1995 and sat in silence nearly 12 years.
Until our client, the Redevelopment Authority of the City of Bethlehem, decided to change that.
And this is the Bethlehem steel plant today.
It's a revitalized site and an ever-changing landscape.
The Hoover-Mason Trestle was a small component of much larger Bethlehem steel machine.
And you can see it here. It was the backbone of the entire 1,800-acre site.
It was an elevated railroad to deliver the raw material to making a steel process.
And sitting 36 feet above the ground, today the revitalized HMT serves to enhance the community of Bethlehem by revitalizing this place through sort of looking at it as an industrial landmark.
To respect original Hoover-Mason Trestle, the way we design is the new structure to be tread lightly over the existing structure.
So all the new walkways and planters are designed on a new structure that actually sits on the existing rail lines, and it gives people the opportunity to circulate through the industrial archaeology of the site and actually travel on the same path that the rail cars once did.
The impact of the project has been so successful because more than designing a space, we design experience.
And it's an experience that can be enjoyed by the local community and all the visitors from daytime
to nighttime.
Sweeping people up off the ground and really inserting them in a powerfully personal experience. Sorry about that.
So as the designer, what we do as the designer is storytelling. It could be found in our design, the way we talk about design, like now, and ultimately the way we experience design.
And as part of our design process, our design team engaged the local community, including former steelworkers, who really gave us a refreshed and enlightened view of the site because they saw it as a historic monument.
Like the Czech brothers in this picture.
There were 9 Czech brothers in the community of Bethlehem, all of whom worked in the steel plant. Steelworkers used to weld their names next to the area they worked in because they had such a pride for the sense of place. And on opening day, Richie Czech, the only brother who's still alive, actually came back and spent all day on the project reminiscing and telling stories to family and friends because the project has really brought the community back to the site. And Bethlehem Steel is a monument, but it's also a symbol
for revitalization and ultimately for community. Thank you.
Engaged both in the design process, the storytelling, and also, once it's open, how is the community engaged in utilizing the space?
So I think one of the most important things about the project is it came from the Redevelopment Authority of the city. And during the design process, they encouraged us to engage with almost 10 community organizations, the Steelworkers Coalition, the National Museum of Industrial History. And we actually started recording all of those stories with our design team. A piece that we didn't get to talk a lot about today is there's actually an outdoor museum involved with a series of signs, you saw one of which there, and a full digital application, Hoover-Mason.com, where people from around the world can access the site and actually take a walking tour of the project and hear those stories of the community talking about working there. And the community has just really stood behind the project. They're taking care of the project.
Yeah, I think the best part is the old steelworker coming back and bring back the old family and talk about the place, and also some organization actually volunteer to maintain this place because they're so much fun and they kind of have ownership in the community.
How long is it?
The project right now, what you saw today is phase 1. The second phase would eventually continue. This part is a little over a third of a mile long. The full project would be a half mile long.
What does it connect to?
So when the Bethlehem steel plant shut down, the Sands Casino actually bought the land, and the money that was used for the purchase went into a TIF fund to be used by the community for parks and open spaces. So right now it's connecting this sort of arts and cultural campus. There's a nonprofit organization there, PBS 39, a visitor center, and at the other end it would eventually connect down to a new convention center in the casino.
I guess my question is sort of, where does this fit in the larger sequence of revitalizing this site? Like, is it catalytic, or is it just another cool thing that's happening by this big old steel?
I think one of the big things is, for so long, this is such a powerful symbol for this community. For so long, people couldn't get within a mile of the steel plant. So what it's done is it's really revitalized it by being able to bring people back to a public open space, and that has spurred so much growth and development in the area. It's sort of bringing young people, bringing families that used to work in the steel plant back to the site in a very new way. And I think we see it as being applicable in other locations because with sort of production methods in today's world, we're seeing a lot of these sort of old former steel plants and sites that are sort of abandoned and sitting there useless. And what we see is sort of the opportunity to tell a story about what was once there. And instead of flattening the land, we want to sort of embrace it for what it was and tell the story about what it was in sort of a new way.
So how does this project revitalize the ecology of this place?
I think one of the cool things that we also didn't get to talk much about is the paths were actually defined by the existing planting and species that had grown on the project while it was abandoned. So
usually we say native planting. The native planting is the planting on the trestle, and we start from there. And then we preserve the planting there, the planting grow on there to kind of work around those the species and kind of enhancing the existing species much more strong way. So we bring up the species and bring back more butterflies, and you're surprised that you found a different type of animals up there.
No, man, I think it's a great question because there's obviously there's all kinds of extraction of iron ore and wood and coal and coke and all of this stuff to make this giant edifice of this steel plant, and I'm sure there's a bunch of nasty stuff on the site. So there's this idea of that trestle to be some kind of armature for broader, longer term ecological revitalization. So the plantings are good, but you wonder if it could also be a catalyst for some type of ecological remediation.
Definitely, and as part of the first phase of the project, at the ground plane, we actually revitalized the brownfield site that was there as part of the sort of the groundscape network.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.